live. Hey, Doc. Beat you to it, Fig.
Doc.
Hey, Dizzy. Greetings, everybody. Badass, don't see if you're here yet or not, but if you are, thank you for the photos.
Oh my
that worked
gosh,
out
those are great pictures.
Dude's an artist.
It's an ugly airplane, but it's awesome pictures.
Right?
I'm waiting for the backlash.
No, you gotta be a point of blame.
Right on. Actually, I think that Strike Beagle is kind of a cool looking jet. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
especially when it turns nose onto you and disappears.
I was just looking for hate.
I
was waiting for hate to come at me.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
How does a jet that big disappear? I mean, it's amazing. Turns nose on and it's gone.
It helps if you have shitty eyesight. That's number one.
That's
just saying.
Yeah. I'm doing this.
I'm asking for it from all.
If I do this, I can't see all on the computer. I gotta put these on so I can see your pics.
There's that.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Well, we all know this.
Well, you're a better pilot than I am.
So Hutch, just so you know what's going, I'm gonna at some point I'm gonna disappear off the stage. It's just repeating Fig. I just do silly crap in the background.
Not a problem.
But he's good at it.
I am I've gotten better at it. Yeah.
I still, man, Simba. That was amazing.
that was a good one.
Yeah, so well, we had a story about Simba, and just as the guy goes, Simba, up comes the picture. That was exactly the scene in the movie he was talking about. This guy went and pre-grabbed it and put it up there. It's like,
it's all right. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm the Radar O'Reilly of.
Yeah, there you go. Here, sign this.
Oh yeah. So
all right. Yeah. So, well, when Fig gets back, we will. Yeah, sure you are.
I'm here.
That's your bullshit story, and you're stuck with it. All right. Well, we're going to take this thing live then. Let me set the notes up at 0 on the timing.
I think we already are live.
I mean, recording.
Recording. Okay.
Recording is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, I'm going to disappear then.
All right. So wrong. See you soon.
I believe in you.
Yeah. Fig, you want to pick it up out of the story and hand it to me? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here maybe we don't. Make sure my notes are good. Got to get the right notes. I have the wrong notes up. I have one eye up. I have no idea why. Okay, I'm going to zero that out again. And, that's why. Okay.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not.
Hang on. I'm going to stop this because I'm getting an echo and I don't know why.
I'm only
Are you hearing it.
I was hearing it in this. I was hearing it
in the song.
But it wasn't. It sounded like I was hearing it through your microphone.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not. Let me get my audio settings unscrewed here and make sure I'm good to go. Shouldn't have been through my microphone because the audio is coming through my ear only. But I will turn that off. I'm worried the echo cancellation will screw up the quality of the sound. Tell me how this sounds.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit.
All right. I'm not hearing the echo that time either. So
that was better.
Everybody, hung start. Gonna do it again. All right.
Check. Mike, check.
Yeah, right.
Doc's going to win the flask, he says.
He might. Could happen. All right.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story.
It sounds like shit.
Pond
Does it?
at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker.
Yeah.
Are you hearing echo? What are you hearing?
It says it clipped the high frequencies. That's what BDS, that's what
Yeah.
Badass
Okay.
said. And it's a pretty good description. I was only getting the bass, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's definitely clipping out.
That's because of my mic settings that I've got to go back. I am not figuring out why this should sound better, but I bet I hear crap. I mean,
It's your face,
Smallest
bro.
cockpit
how's that?
on the
That's good.
tanker
It's good.
through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that. Thanks a lot. We really appreciated that.
Okay.
I'm just
I'm not
kidding.
hearing
It's
the echo now.
No, I'm not.
I did hear it. I heard the no, I'm not.
You know, but when you're talking, I'm not hearing the echo.
Yeah.
It's only when that music's
All right.
playing.
Let me double check everybody's mic settings. I think we're
Hutch, are you hearing an echo when he's talking?
It doesn't sound like it. Not when Repeat's talking. When the music's trying to play it, like you said, I'm hearing it like it's clipped out. I hear
Yeah.
some words and then nothing, and then some words.
Let me look at one other thing.
Dizzy says you're 5x5.
Okay.
Welcome, Dizzy.
Headphones. Yep. That's good. That's good. Reduce background noise. That really screws it up. All right. We'll give this a shot. I'm going to zero out the timers one more time, and we're going to go. We're going to go with it. I will fix the music in post if I have to. Sorry, everybody, for the third tornado that is today's beginning.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit on the tanker through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that. Thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fun.
And so there I was at Nellis, final phase of mission employment, as it used to be called, a weapon school in the mighty Aardvark, coming off target, and asked my wing for a posit. Tells us we're out of point X, so we're looking at, wow, we're way behind. So time to step it up. We push it up. We're 100 feet hand flying at Mach 1.3, exiting on our way out, and start to have some fun. There are some deaf horses and a few other things, and we'll keep going after that.
Hold on a second. Did you say 100 feet at 1.3 Mach, hand flying?
Yep, 1.3
That's
Mach.
what I thought
100
you
feet.
said. Son of a bitch.
With some deaf horses. Probably someone got blown over.
More livestock being harmed.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, welcome to So There I Was. And that is how well, my palms are sweating. The hair is standing up on the back of my neck. Aviation story start. This is Fig. I'm coming to you from my home, Kearney, Missouri. Where's my cohorse?
I'm at my home in New Hampshire, and we're proud today to welcome Hutch, an Aardvark F-111 and F-15 Strike Eagle Wizzo. Glad to have you. Holy smokes. Man, this is going to be fun. That's all I can tell you. But when is the first time you ever looked up, way up in the sky at 100 feet and said, oh, there's an airplane. I want to fly one of those someday.
Well, it's funny. Initially, I just because of my eyesight, I knew I couldn't be a pilot. And so initially coming to the Air Force, I thought I was going to be a double E, do my 5 years, and hello IBM or some company like that. And then once I was at school, I found out, hey, there's this thing called Navigator, which then subset of that thing called Wizzo, and can fly fighters. And I'm like, I'm in. I want to do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, what was that process to get from I want to do that to going to tell us where you went to school and see if they can figure it out? Like, it took me a second.
All right. Well, yeah, I went to the University of Science and Fine Arts in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
There you go.
That's the USAFA.
Correct.
University of Service of Fine Arts.
Science and Fine Arts.
Most folks
Better
take
known
a while
as
to get that. And it's a great way to be unassuming. And folks, wow, Colorado, that's pretty cool. I hadn't heard that school. How do I go there? And then they find out, okay, got it.
Yeah. Damn it.
But,
very cool.
Yeah,
so when'd you go there?
I was there 81, 85.
Okay.
So a minute ago or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all geezers here.
Yep.
We can admit it. So, all right. And what was that process like? Well, where'd you grow up? Let me ask that.
So I grew up Northwest Indiana, just a place called Merrillville, just south of Gary and Lake Michigan.
Okay.
And both my parents are school teachers. My dad, high school trig and calculus, and mom, third grade. And kind of started wanting to go to the academy based on a family vacation. We'd gone all the way out to the West Coast. My uncle lived there. On the way back, stopped at the academy because some guys dad had in class, one of which was out there coaching basketball. You probably heard of him a little bit, a guy named Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
So my dad had Pop in class and coached him, and Pop's that type of guy. He's never forgotten those folks that helped him through that process. So he and my dad, up until my dad passed away this last summer, maintain, write letters and how folks are doing and that kind of thing. And once I saw that place, like, this was pretty cool. This is where I want to go. And so I applied to there, and I also applied to West Point and then Purdue and Rose-Hulman because I knew I wanted to major in electrical engineering. And once I got my appointment, I was super excited.
Very cool. Oh, that's awesome. So, trying to think. So by then there were majors at the Air Force Academy. We've had guys on that were Naval Academy that everybody got the same basic military science degree. And
oh, right. And there was lots of majors. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. Now there's even more, but yeah, you had plenty of majors to choose from. You could go just general studies. You're still get a Bachelor of Science degree because of, what that core curriculum's like. Okay. But I knew I wanted to be an electrical engineer well before I had gotten to the academy.
So Hutch, when you were at the academy during the summers, did you do a few weeks somewhere at a squadron and get some backseat flying and like kind of seal the deal for you, or what was your path into that?
No, so my summer program when we went, there's the 3 weeks. I went to Little Rock Air Force Base. Nice. And so I spent a week with the C-130 guys, and we flew out, went to Cuba. So I spent a night in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. That was really interesting and eye-watering. Watched one of our compasses or heading systems on the C-130 go out of whack as we went through the Bermuda Triangle. I thought that was kind of coincidental. I spent a week with the Missileers, and I knew that's something.
Lost him.
Thing as well. So that was my 3 weeks there at Little Rock, and definitely enjoyed the flying part.
We will probably get that the way StreamYard picks up the recording, but we missed about the last 30 seconds.
Okay.
Pretty much everything after the Bermuda.
I heard
Triangle.
Missileer, and I know you were going with it, but you froze.
Right. So, like I said, we actually lost the heading system. One of them in the 130 going through the Bermuda Triangle. And then after that, I got back. I spent a week with the Titan missile guys. Okay. Realized I didn't want to be sitting in a missile silo. And then a week with the combat controllers. And I thought those guys had a pretty cool job. Yeah.
Well, doesn't everybody lose their navigation system in the Bermuda Triangle? I mean, isn't that what it's for? To suck the navigation system right out of whatever is going through there.
Yep. So fortunately, we still had one good one, and we're able to go from Puerto Rico, I think, into Cuba, and
thank goodness.
that was kind of neat.
The question is, do you turn or not turn when you've lost that? Do you turn so that you're going straight, or do you not turn so that?
You fly around in circles until you run out of gas. That's the problem. You stay in that triangle, and then everybody crashes in the water.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, everybody knows that. Come on.
Yeah. Just asking for a friend. So. All right. So you graduated, and you got to. What was that process like to find out you were going to get to go be a Wizzo?
So you had to take some. If you're going to go you're track and navigator to going to go Mather. There was some navigation courses you took as part of your curriculum at school, and the T-43s from Mather come in and got some rides on that. Once you got to Mather, then obviously what you're going to fly was based on order of merit. So you fill out your dream sheet. I think it had like 33 things you could fill out on it. Of course, I front loaded all mine with fighters, F4, all the different versions, F4G, E, D, F111, EF111, FB111, C130, all the way down. And so then the drop comes, and based on your order of merit, but it's also what is available based on the follow-on pipeline training on what drops. And my class probably had 10 guys that all wanted to go fighters. And there was a class about a month after us that they had about 10 guys that want to go C-130s. My class got 10 C-130s and 6 fighters, and their class got 10 fighters and 6 C-130s.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Luck of the draw of what class you're in and what drops down and where you're at. But I was, extremely happy when I found out I was getting F-111Es to Upper Hayford.
So describe what that airplane is like.
They're
know
all
very
gone.
Little about it. Yeah. I mean, it's a
The
cool
VARC?
airplane.
Yeah, the aardvark.
Yeah, so the VARC had 4 before the FBs came to TAC. They had 4 models: the A, the E, the D, and the F. Okay. The A and no 4 had the same interior instrumentation, the cockpits.
Well, that would
and
be
the A's
silly.
had splitter plates instead of moving intakes, and the most basic. Granted, it was built in the early 60s, flew in Vietnam, analog, every turn point, you're grabbing these knobs on your control unit and manually dialing in your coordinates to the next point. That nice digital kind of display, that was much, much later. That was after the avionics modification where we got those MFDs. Then the E models had what they called translating cowls, as did the D and the F. A little bit better avionics inside. The D model, it had a heads-up display actually on both sides, which was kind of nice, and not nearly as good as a HUD as you see in a Hornet, a Viper, Strike Eagle type of thing, but it was still pretty good. And then the F model went back to having just the sight on the left, nothing on the right, but it was digital avionics and had the PaveTac pod for laser designation, and the F model had the big motors. The Gs, which were the old FBs, when they came into ACC, though the G and the C model that the Aussies flew had longer wings by about 3 feet on each side.
That's significant.
So you can tell when they're parked, and you can see where those wings. That almost looks like that's an early model.
So Sticks has up on our YouTube feed pictures of the F-111 aardvark.
It looks very F-14-esque. If it had twin tails, at first glance, you'd go, that's an F-14.
So the Air Force, there's the B model. They only made a couple of these, and it was to test for the Navy to have it was the initial Joint Strike Fighter.
Okay.
They wanted it to be a joint type of aircraft, but after testing whatever, the Navy said, little too heavy, not what we want. But a lot of that technology then went into the Tomcat. And that, swing wings initially helped for, storage, what you fit on there. The Tomcat's wings would auto sweep, where the 111, you had to always manually sweep your wings.
Was that a Grumman? Is that a Grumman product?
Yes, sir.
GD,
Grumman
isn't it?
product. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's why it looks very familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I thought it was General Dynamics.
That's the 111.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
what I was asking. I was
No,
asking.
sorry.
was
Yeah,
the
the 111
111
was General Dynamics.
Okay.
Okay.
Then obviously became Lockheed when they bought that out.
Sure.
And Tomcat was a Grumman technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
the cats
tried.
are all Grummans.
Right.
If it's a cat, it's a Grumman. So, all right. Oh, all right. Trying to think. The one that was the B that Sticks had up there, the landing gear looked really close together. Was it that way on the
Yeah,
one
so
you
that
flew,
the landing gear, pretty heavy duty. If you look at that, the landing gear our main tires, they're the same size as you see on a C-130.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay. That's pretty
it's a
damn big
monster
tire.
gear. Yeah.
right. So in you did not flare a 111 when you landed it. You landed at 600 feet per minute and pretty much crash it to the runway.
Just like
So
a
that
Navy
main
jet.
gear
All
is
right.
built to sustain that.
Okay.
For that purpose. And
Now, what was that also because tail strike issue if you tried to flare it?
that, and with those big stabs in the back, you didn't want to get too high. You could scrape those.
Oh yeah.
The rear stabilators, those are the size of a T-38's main wing, plus or minus a few inches.
That's awesome, right?
So
Probably an
that-
A4 too. They actually look more like an A4 wing.
So it's pretty big. Heavy aircraft, though. I mean,
Yeah.
50,000 pounds empty, and we used to carry 34,500 pounds internal.
Wow.
And then you had stores, everything else. So yeah, it was definitely a heavy airplane.
So were you bucking $100,000 max gross takeoff weight with ordnance and everything?
Real close to that. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty big plane. I mean, with the wings out and everything. I mean, that's like a tennis court
So
size.
I was looking
Right.
at pictures of it yesterday, Fig. It's significantly bigger than a Phantom.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I remember seeing them up close. On
Yeah.
cross countries, we'd go to places where they were, and I would think, man, that's a big damn airplane. But I really never, stood next to one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And it's unlike the A4, it's got that really tall main front landing gear. For as big as it is, heavy as it is, it's really not that high off the ground when you look at it on how it's designed, which is kind of surprising. I think it was Strike Eagle's taller when you took more steps to get the cockpit of a Strike Eagle than did to get up to the cockpit of a Vark.
Sure. How and that the other thing that was unique about it, and then Sticks put that up earlier, is the seating in that was more like an A6. It was side by side. Were you directly side by side, or were you a little lower and a little aft?
Directly side by side.
Okay. All right.
So my throttles were obviously to my left, right there in the center console, and there's other things in the center console. The EF 111, because of its thing that the right seater had to do, did not have a stick, but all the other F-111s had a stick on the right side.
Oh, so you got some good stick time in that thing then.
I got a lot of good stick time. Yeah,
Nice.
I was lucky. I had guys that let me get a lot of stick time.
oh, that's
That was
fantastic.
good.
That is. So where was the swing wing control? I didn't realize that was a manual control on the wings.
Yeah, swing wing is on the right, just underneath the window rail, the canopy rail there on the left hand, or sorry, the pilot's left side, just below the canopy rail.
Okay.
And it had a first detent was at the 26-degree wing, and then you'd push that detent, come back to the 54-degree wing, push that detent, and come all the way back to 72. And you could do intermediate in between them, but just those are the two auto stops it had on it when you're pulling them back.
Sure. Oh man. And what kind of power did that thing have? What kind of power plant?
They were Pratt & Whitney turbofans,
Okay.
and they had different suffixes at the end depending on whether it was which engines were in which. The F model had the biggest power plant of the designs, but the sleekest airframe because of the splitter plates versus the cowls was actually the A model. But the F model had the biggest amount of power, and I forget, it's been too many years how many pounds of thrust that it had. It
Enough
was
to
pretty
make it go 1.3 on the deck.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there's that. So can I make an assumption, Hutch, that in the early days you guys were training to deliver special weapons, sneaking in
Yes,
at
we
low
were.
level?
Especially in Europe, that was your primary checkout. As soon as you got there, you had to certify on that, which was a lot of studying, a lot of stump the dummy questions when you had certification board, because that was job one over there for both us and Lake and Heath back there in the 80s before the wall came down.
Because you were coming back from that mission.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you were. Was it did you guys train for a loft type delivery, or were you sneaking in low, climbing high, dropping it and beat feet out? What was the type of profile you guys trained for?
Yes, all those based on the type of weapon and the type of effects that they wanted. Then yes, you're going to practice either like a toss or what they called a LAD, low altitude drogue delivery. Both had different kind of maneuvers. One you toss and peel off away and go away. One you toss, roll inverted, pull back over and keep going straight. And then you're straight, obviously low level delivery on that. So yeah, that was your bread and butter, was practicing for that. As well as your conventional, ordnance, but that was job one back then.
And so, were you still flying? I don't want to get too far ahead here, but I just thought of this. Were you still flying aardvarks when WW Gulf War I kicked off in
Yes.
90?
Yes. Yep.
Were you in England at the time, or did you guys get deployed?
I was at Upper Hayford. And I didn't get to participate in. I was down there for the Desert Shield portion in Turkey. Came back to Upper Hayford to bring in some jetbacks for some maintenance, and then they sent some crews down for the other squadron, so that everyone had some folks down there participating in it instead of just my squadron. So I did back, and I did some other testing, helping the Brits do some buddy lasing with Buckeyes and things like that. Okay. But yeah, it's still flying in England. I left Upper Hayford in 91, kind of right after the wall came down, back to Cannon Air Force Base to go to the weapons school.
So was that, F fighter, but it looks like it was more of a medium attack jet than a fighter. Or could that thing turn, and could you turn in a fight, or was it?
You could once.
One good turn. Yeah.
And you had to be fast. So the corner velocity, your quickest, tightest turn for a VARC was 600 knots.
Oh my gosh, that's that takes you about 2 miles.
Right. So corner velocity in a VARC was 600 knots. The max G we're supposed to pull was 7.33. I can't believe I still remember all these numbers.
Wow, but pulling those numbers out, right? Get that file card.
Right. So we weren't going to sit in a knife fight. Forever with that and the thrusties. Our thing was get the turn and then try to outrun everything.
Squeeze one off and run.
And design to fly low. So find a cloud, put the TFR on, get down in 200 feet in the weather and go. You eliminate quite a bit of threats on that.
Okay.
Because most guys aren't going to follow you down in that environment.
No. And if you're running away fast.
TFR, what was that thing like? I imagine you use that at night?
Yes, the terrain following radar. Once you get comfortable with it, it was a really good system. It had 2 terrain following radars in addition to the main radar. You'd engage that fully coupled autopilot. So once you let down, you see the pilot sitting back there, back when you could smoke in the jet.
No,
running the throttle.
No.
Oh yeah, the jet's running itself. Yeah, and
hey, wait a minute. Are we talking like 100 feet, 200 feet? What?
Our settings were 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1,000.
Okay.
Yep.
So 1,000, I could smoke a lucky at, but if I was down at 300 doing 5 foot, what'd you guys fly your low levels at? What speed?
Mostly for training around 480, sometimes up to 540, depending on what you're at, and then faster if need be for weapons delivery.
So you got your TFR on. You're doing 480. You're at 400 feet. Pilot's got his mask off, smoking a Lucky.
Yep.
Jeez.
And you know, because and then as a Wizzo, you're always hoping that the shadows on the radar are, you know, getting smaller. That means you're climbing above the thing in front of you. So you're checking with the radar and that, and then the first time it kind of gets you is if you happen to fly, you know, something near a canyon, you see that beacon go off of that thing. Then you're like, oh shit, how close am I to that canyon wall? You know, and but you get used to it. You know, again, you're telling that, but great system, pretty reliable. I mean, there've been a few accidents, especially early on, but you know, when you do the checks and maintenance kept that system pretty well. That was a good system.
What do you think, Repeat?
Just
I don't know. I can't.
Terrifying.
I know. I can't.
Put out
that
your
just
goals
makes
there, Sparky, and fly the damn jet.
Yep.
Wow, that's impressive. So, what would be a? I know it's driven by the threat. You know,
Right.
you wouldn't descend until you needed to stay out of the search radars. But what kind of range would you guys plan a mission at? Mile wise at low level.
I mean, how long of a low level, or
like
total
like
out and back? You know,
Yeah.
like a 1,000-mile radius and back, or whatever. Is that what you're talking, like a combat radius?
yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, and part of that's also what are we carrying? I mean,
Sure.
that one picture you throw up there that was carrying, Durandal, I think it's called, the 29 consecutive miracles for that thing to work. But it's pretty dirty to carry. Where if you're just carrying 4, 2,000 pounders, which are much slicker, especially once they're gone, and so it that would affect your range based on what you're carrying. We always had the AOQ 131 pod. There you go. There's radar. So that the range kind of varied. Also, were you carrying tankers? Those previous missions you're talking about, we usually had a couple bags of gas on there. So now you're carrying over, 47,000 pounds of fuel with the drop tanks on there. So the range was pretty significant on it. Assuming you didn't have to drop in, too early for low level, but just from England, your most of your targets back in the former Eastern Europe, you're going to stay high for quite a while before you start to let down and go through the German countryside to get further east. But it varied.
So one of the things that Fig mentioned, and I know we've talked about it before, speeds and that sort of thing on this, but it just occurred to me we never talked about why. So he asked, do you do it, 480, 540? These numbers, 420, they're all divisible by 60.
60. That just makes it easier on math in public especially.
Oh, yeah. That's easy for a E&E major for crying out loud.
Well, it's harder for us window-licking, crayon-eating Marines, but there you go. 420 is 7 miles a minute. 6/8 are 48, right. So 480 is 8 miles a minute.
Right? 600, 10 miles a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. But I don't think we've ever talked about why that is. But yeah, that's why we try to hit those numbers on our ground speed for our low levels.
So that's kind of, and now like in Germany, I'm trying to think, for training, they had a lower, I think it was supposed to be 450, except for certain times like IP to target. Then you could go a little faster. And they had the SkyGuard radar system. I mean, they would track guys and try to, send back and violate guys for being too fast.
You were doing 425 across
Wow.
Yep. So you had to pay attention. Each country had some different restrictions, how low you could fly. The rules varied, in the UK, I think it was 250. Unless you're on TFR, then you could fly 200. Germany, I think, was 500. I forget what like the Netherlands was, things like that. So you had to always pay attention which countries you're flying in.
Yeah, but over there, when you're doing 480,
you could zip through a couple countries without even realizing it.
By the time you figure it out, yeah.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Between Belgium, Denmark, Germany, you can get through there pretty quick.
A few minutes done.
A little different than the Western U.S. where you're carrying the amount of country equivalents, but you're still in the state of Nevada.
Right. Exactly.
So Hutch, you went to you went to the weapons school
Mhm.
in the aardvark.
Yes.
Did you go to weapons school for the F-15E as well?
I instructed in the F-15E weapon school.
Okay. Well,
So I went to school in the VARC, instructed in the F-111 Division Weapon School, and that was closing down. I went over, instructed at the F-15 Weapon School in Nellis.
So the opening story was that a red flag or was that a weapons school graduation exercise?
That was I believe that one was weapon school. The final phase, or used to be called mission employment. I forget what they call it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. So, how many hours in the F-111?
A little over 1,600.
Nice.
What was the average sortie length if you just had to give it a number?
I want to say 2.8, if I remember right. And I'm bringing back my time working in scheduling days when you're always worried about, how much you're going to fly. But 2.8 to 3.1, especially in Europe. Maybe a little shorter back in the States, just given, in Europe, you had to fly a little bit to get to the ranges, like it can in the ranges 20 miles just to the west of the base. So,
well, that's a lot of strapping in and unstrapping right there.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And did you usually operate as a section or division, single ship? What?
All of those. So, section being, we call it a 2-ship. Division, we call it a 4-ship. And then you did a lot of single ship, especially on that initial checkout with the special weapons you're talking about, mainly single ship there. But yes, try to do 2, 4, section, division, and different tactics with that and how you're employing. Some of that was driven by, are you doing an upgrade for somebody? Are you upgrading? What kind of weapons you're carrying? Training weapons, that kind of thing. Did some require, like you're going to carry an AGM-130, the captive trainers, the data link pod. There, you're rarely doing that as a 4-ship just because of maintenance and everything involved, and then being able to have jets to turn for the second go that day. So a lot of that just training drove a lot of what you're flying.
So what's the makeup of a typical aardvark squadron? How many pilots? How many Wizzos?
Got to go back. I think, we had a 24 PA squadron. And so we probably had 32-ish pilots and Wizzos, about a 1.3, between a 1.2 and 1.4 to 1 ratio. And that takes some of your overhead for guys working up at wing staff and really have leave and things like that.
So that's 32 pilots and 32 Wizzos? Or
roughly,
32,
yes.
So 32 crews.
32
really.
crews, right.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty big. I didn't know. I didn't realize 24 planes. That's significant.
Yeah, it's a big squadron.
Right, and that used to be the standard. All your fighter squadrons used to be 24, what they call primary aircraft assigned, which means you actually had about 30 because you probably had 2 at depot, 2 in the big barn, the extras that go along on that. But that PAA number is what was driving so an average wing with 3 squadrons has 72 planes. Now Strike Eagles, that were a little different. When I got to Mountain Home, we were only an 18 PA squadron. And I think we only had about 22 crew. So not as robustly manned back then.
Okay.
And did you generally fly with the same pilot all the time, or did you mix it up all the time?
Initially, when you're a young lieutenant and you crew, they try to crew you with that guy, especially.
He gone.
You're back, Pete. All right. Generally, like first checking out.
We lost you again. Last thing we heard is especially new lieutenant, especially.
New lieutenants crews in Europe. You try to crew you with that same guy for a while to get the experience.
Okay.
And then as you got a little, you weren't just a brand newbie and needing to fly with a more senior guy, then you start bouncing around. And obviously, when you become an instructor, you'll fly with, whoever, whenever, based on upgrades or, things like that. And, from the pilot side, is he a section leader? Is he a division leader? Are you guys going single ship? That also would influence some of your crewing on that. But they would try to keep us with our primary assigned pilot for a good portion of it. But between other jobs and how you get a head cold or So that's primary stuff was doing that.
They do it the other way too. When you were a senior Wizzo, would they put new pilots with you to work them up, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah. Once you're an instructor, then I flew a lot with the new pilots coming out of the formal training unit when they get there to, do some of their checkout, or as a young guy is getting ready to upgrade to flight lead, be it a section or division, 2-ship, 4-ship, your instructor Wizzos, they'd kind of put them with those guys as well, just to, even though we weren't quote flight leads, we had enough experience to kind of help out what he needs to think about, wingman considerations, that kind of stuff, and do some of those kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want to hit some of these bullet points in here. You
Sure.
talk. First one was upgraded avionics was a dream to fly, but then the one after that was also a supersonic compressor stall. Either one or both of those. Supersonic compressor stall sounds interesting.
So when a jet goes through a major depot level maintenance, when it comes out, it has to go through what's called a functional check flight.
Okay.
And you have and that's probably one of the earliest things you can upgrade to as a, kind of new crew member is a functional check flight, either Wizzo or pilot. And so I got to go down to Bristol, which is where the depot maintenance was for the UK, and flew with another functional check flight pilot. Took this jet up because it's coming out of depot, and long checklist. And you got to record, a bunch of the data at the different levels and stuff. And part of that is to, you start ramping it up to go as how high to get to 50,000 feet and see, max speed you go. So we're cruising along and we're starting to go, and we're out over the North Sea, starting our supersonic run, past 1.5, and I'm writing my notes down on, the different things they're asking for me there. And about Mach 1.69, you hear this big boom. I mean, it lurched us forward, locked the shoulder harnesses, jet yaws hard into that motor. And now you're thinking, oh my God, trying to, get the yaw back so you don't cavitate the good motor and have a dual compressor stall as you're, bringing the engines back at the same time. And it's like, I think the FCS over, let's declare an emergency and start going back and, back to idle, see if it can come back up to some kind of power. So you knew what you had, whether you just completely shelled it or whether it was just the bleeds as that schedules through the different supersonic phases is what failed on that. But you still treat it like a single engine coming back. But never had a shoulder harness lock like that before. That's how violent it was. Almost like you hit a door and stopped, and that jet probably went 30 degrees to the right side, went 30 degrees to the right.
Instant drag.
Wow. What's that?
Instant drag too.
Instant drag, man, because of that long nose. You look at that picture of that VARC where your intakes are. You definitely don't want to cavitate the other engine with airflow through there.
Right.
So, pilot hitting the rudder and getting back and that. But yeah, that was an eye-opening. You've had other little compressor stalls before and you don't notice it, but that one you definitely noticed. It was impressive.
So did you end up having to shut it down, or did it recover?
It recovered back there, but we didn't use it, so we just treated it as a single engine, left it in idle. Knew we had some power if we needed it coming in, but then just did the standard configure, run the single engine checklist, and land that way, and then gave it back to depot for them to go figure out what it was. And it was something scheduling in the bleed air, coming through the engines with the supersonic airflow. Something didn't flow right, but
okay. Wow.
But yeah, so that was fun.
I can't imagine the aerodynamics and the shock wave. All of a sudden, you got a jet that's 30 degrees off of where it was going.
Yeah, and it started slowing down pretty quick. That's a good thing. And you start turning around back to reaching around the pointing your nose back at the island, so you can go back to England and land.
I'm sure you guys were wearing poopy suits and everything out over the North Sea, right?
No, that's the beauty. With the 111 that capsule ejection system, we had the poopy.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Whoa,
Somebody threw a picture up there. So there it is, the capsule.
Damn
There it
sticks. How
And
the hell does he do that?
How did he do that? So,
So
let's talk about the capsule.
Sure.
So there's a good picture of it. It's completely
good picture of it. And so on top and behind the seats, they did put your poopy suit in a bag back there. The capsule's designed to float. It also has some ox flotation if you needed it. And the pilot's stick had a button at the bottom that can convert it then into a bilge pump if you needed it.
what?
And so with that, like we were crossing the pond or whatever, we didn't have to wear our poopy suits because of the floating capsule. Unlike in the strike.
Yeah. He's froze.
That's I would imagine that and some weight, and that's probably the way they have gotten rid of that in the strike and the others. But
oh, look at that.
Yeah, here's another picture that Sticks has put up of the.
It's actually one. Crash.
I remember that one. Yeah, they found it in the woods right near here. So.
Yep. Now that one landed on its side.
Well, it looks like
if you're in the envelope, it was a pretty reliable system.
You say envelope, yeah, a certain speed, certain altitude before you could.
Certain speed, certain altitude. So unlike Aces 2 being 0-0, supposedly this was 0 and 50 knots, and then it had different modes, high speed and low speed, depending on how that drogue chute would come out to first slow it down so you wouldn't rip it off, and then get it to pitch over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
I completely forgot about that.
I did too.
Yeah.
I honestly did too. I was thinking you guys were sitting on 2 ejection seats in there.
Nope. Now we both had handled the 2 handles.
Yeah.
Mine was on my left side. His was on his right side. They were both right on either side of the center console. For that.
And obviously, it's command eject no matter what. You're both going.
You're both
in
going.
the pod.
Yeah. Right. You're both going, but
I'm wondering, I keep losing him here. I'm wondering, was there a speed limit?
Yeah. Was there a speed limit?
I think it was, again, been a minute, but I thought it was cleared into the supersonic realm. The modes change 250 knots between high speed and low speed.
Okay.
On that,
Sure.
But it's been a fairly reliable system. I mean, we had some, still in the jet flying, both in Turkey and at Cannon, and a couple guys at Cannon. One guy's, they determined they departed the jet 16 feet above the ground and still made it, landed, and all good. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good feeling, sitting in it, doing the kind of crazy mission profiles you flew. It had a, if you're pulling an ejection seat handle and you go flying out into the air, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong right there. At least this way, you're kind of in a
still protected a little.
Yeah.
Right. So no flailing injuries. You're not going to dislocate your knee or your elbow. What they describe it as is, though, when you go to land, it's like sitting in a chair and being pushed off the second story floor and then landing sitting down.
Oh, so there's their rub right there. It's like, oh, geez, right?
Yeah.
No parachute landing fall for you. You're going ass first, no matter what. Well,
Correct.
you hope. I guess you don't land on your head.
Well, yeah, you're hoping that the capsule's coming down flat and not tilted, or because then you're going to get some different shear forces in there.
Sure. Come down in terrain, land, start rolling. That'd be the shits.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And did it have
that happened. The guys at Cannon, there is a young Wizzo and a pilot in the FTU. This one at the web school there. When they ejected, we had a really high windy day at Cannon, and when their capsule landed, it got pulled all the way to the east side of the airfield and didn't stop until the chute hit the barbed wire fence and then deflated so they're over there, and
was it
the EOR truck goes around to get them, and they're like, no, the one pilot's like, I want to stay here until the doc comes, and he's like, sir, you see that fire burning through the grass right there? he's not going to get here for that. So they hop in with the EOR crew chief guys, the guys who do the end of runway checks, and they go buzzing out to the hospital just to get checked over. And they pass the flight doc gets out there, and he's like, "Hey, where's the crew? They're back at the hospital. You passed them on the way." Yeah, because it landed with the one engine. The one good engine was in max grunt.
Oh,
so big old, and it landed flat, so it was still running. It was kicking 16-foot flame out the back, and that's what started some of the fire with the wind burning across that dry grass.
shit.
Yep.
Oh,
They were all good. They were healthy, no problems. The system worked.
Right, but there was no way to separate that chute from the capsule once you were on deck.
No, nope.
Well, in theory, it shouldn't be that windy when you land. But my concern there would be, how come that chute doesn't drag you under if you're in the water?
Oh,
the flotation, bags that it has, the aux flotation.
Okay.
Yep.
Got your own life raft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's why I say you could get the bilge pump. The pilot could start moving that if water was coming in, and you had enough time to put your poopy suit on if you're going to have to. Hey, capsule got damaged somehow. You're leaking.
And now, Hutch, did it have nuclear curtain?
Yeah, so we had the curtains that came down from the top over both side canopies, and then a shield from the dashboard that came up in the front.
Okay.
So you pull all that down, and that's how you'd seal up. And then the pilot side had a little window he could open in the shield, if he had to look out to do a visual delivery or something. But yeah, you could have all that, shields up, curtains down, terrain following radar on, and you're just bebopping along, not knowing what's out there.
That's terrifying.
I know, right? I'm putting myself there right now, and I'm just saying nope. No, that's.
But the nice thing is the reliability of the system, and the 111 designed for being low level was such a stable ride. I mean, it's like being in the old Cadillac Eldorado going down the interstate where you're just, nice smooth ride as opposed to your little Mazda Miata,
right? Yeah,
feeling every bump and pebble. Yep.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. Well, so because I'm guessing it had a fairly high wing loading, which made the ride fairly smooth compared to light wing loaded guy down low getting beat the shit up.
Yep. It did. It really was the Cadillac down low.
Fantastic. All right. What about you've got color all red air white?
So
yeah. I was kind of curious about that too.
This is a red flag story.
Okay.
So, typically they got the adversary airplane red air. And, the blue guys were trying to get out to the western part of the Nellis Ranges, hit your targets, and see how you did. And you're seeing guys come in and valid for a kill. Color that color blue pod 45 white. That means you're dead.
Okay.
And guys trying to take shots kill red. And but they seem like when the strikers got through without being touched, they never took that in account for red air. And so we're probably in the second week of red flag, and it was actually a combination red flag. The French were there, a couple other countries is well of all our stuff, and so we're getting tired of hey, we're getting there, and we put our report that we dropped these LGBs on this or cut the airfield, whatever. So my pilot and I, he was a weapons school guy in my squadron though, and PJ, and we were flying the G models, the old FBs, and so he fills out his sheet and what we're carrying that day, and on the ordnance load that we're simulating, he put AGM-89 short range attack missile, one of your special weapons, right? Okay. And so when we're coming up and hit our time on target, all of a sudden he stands up, stop, color all red air white, and everyone's looking at him. What do you mean? Well, we took off. We went to Flex, which is a reporting point just outside of Nellis, launched our AGM-89s, and they impacted. Now there is nothing left there. We just nuked the entire western side, so all red air has no place to go in their white. Oh, and the French stood up and did the little golf clap because they knew what that weapon was. No one else really did. And then they go, "Oh, we don't play it that way here." He goes, "Well, then why are we here if you're not giving us any credit for, we've been hitting these things and guys have been getting through and red air hadn't been stopping us, and yet we don't get any credit for it." But yeah, that was the golf clap moment in the briefing room when the French knew exactly what that weapon was, and they stood up and give a golf clap to him, and for him to stand up and saying that was pretty funny.
Hey, would
That's
you,
fantastic.
Hutch? Would you mind just briefly for our non-tactical aviation listeners, what red flag is?
So red flag is, in fact, they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of red flag this year. I think they just finished one. Start up as a training program to give guys the simulated experiences of being like your first 2 weeks in combat, to help mitigate some of those, early combat losses that we started seeing in, Vietnam, Korea, because, guys just haven't had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
The adversary, they usually will try to have non-similar. So a lot of times if we're having a red flag, you'll see a lot of Navy assets show up as adversaries or some dissimilar type if you can. And then to work as big packages together. So you'll work with, it's not just your squadron flying. So you have to integrate and fly with as a package. I may have 4 111s, 2 B1s, 8 F-15Cs, 2 Hornets, 2 Growlers to do a strike package, to work your timing, your targets, your deconfliction. You learn about how the other airplanes need to employ, how to provide protection for the airplanes, things like that. There's also the ground emitter array. So you see the different indications to help you with threat reactions and things like that. And the that overall training environment then is to help simulate, given the intensity and the stuff you're going to find, to help guys. So when we do go to combat, it's not like we're seeing this kind of thing for the very first time. We've actually, I understand when I'm hearing AWACS tell me a picture and a threat. I understand that the B1s are going to fly at this altitude and this speed. The C models are going to do this kind of a push and try to clear out stuff. And again, I'm prior to the F-22 and the F-35 and some of the, the newer stuff we have. But it gave a chance to employ both U.S., because sometimes we'd have Navy Marines on our side as well. Like I mentioned, foreigners flying with the French Mirages, the German Tornadoes, pick the different countries that would be there as well to work with and learn from them.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it's designed, and it's stayed that way throughout the years. And it really is, and that airspace out there is a national treasure to be able to have that kind of room to train in. And as you know, with aviation, more and more, it's getting tighter and tighter to try to preserve some of that, to have that working space, to be able to do the supersonic flights, the massive maneuvering, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Nice patch. Yeah.
And the weather is generally really great for flying out there most of the year. So it's outstanding.
Yep. And it's not just daytime. There's also you have the night goes as well. So you practice doing this at night. That's where the trained falling radar comes in a lot of times.
Well, thank you for that, Hutch.
Yeah. How about green flag?
Similar thing, except they're concentrating on the emitter guys. Your rivet joints, your Growlers, your EF-111s, your pick something that's dealing with the emitters and collecting and that kind of thing. In addition to
an electronic warfare exercise.
What's that?
More of an electronic warfare exercise with.
Primarily, they still have the ability with strikers to get in there and that. And then, Maple Flag up in Canada used to have that. And then the one out at Fairchild where they have the guys up north in Alaska doing it as well, just for the different environments and training airspace.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So awesome. That was my first major exercise I ever went on as a Hawk missile officer, was a green flag out there. So,
okay. Yep. Yeah, the Hawk guys, Patriot guys. Used to be one in New Mexico around Fort Bliss called Roving Sands. Did you ever do that one?
I did not. No.
Okay.
They were just starting one up as I finished Hawk school and headed back east.
Okay. Yep. So they used to have one down there. I don't know if they still do or not, but used to do that as well.
That was pretty cool. And that was the first time I ever saw a B-52. I'm like, man, he should probably just put his gear down and drive across the desert because he's so damn low.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And again, when you think about, we've been talking speed, but then you have your, B-52 is a little bit slower. The EA-6 was a little bit slower. Your A-10s are a whole lot slower. I forget what the Harriers used to typically fly at, but so you had to integrate and how you support those guys to do their mission as well.
Sure, because they're all subsonic. So
right.
Yeah. But the B-52, I will say this: we in the Hawk radar environment, we never saw the B-52 coming, and those guys won't even tell you what they've got on board, but
right.
They're pretty invisible.
Isn't that ironic? It's not a small footprint of an airplane.
No, there's all 8 engines pushing it down range.
Yeah, when I hear 8 engines, I'm thinking, well, that's 8 generators. You should be able to generate some trons, ports, and stuff.
Right?
Yeah, you think?
Now all those guys have 4-headed kids and shit. But, Oh man! All right.
So hey, speaking of slow, so I think you said slow, low and slow. Wait.
Slow. Yep. So this is again, we're out in Nellis. This is a mission, the ME phase of weapon school. I think we didn't have any students that day, so it was just all instructors flying, and we're doing a push. And guy I'm flying with, Wad, he probably had 3,000 hours in the VARC. I mean, he's been around forever. And all of a sudden, we come around this mountain, see this Hornet, and okay, turn, fights on. Hornet didn't see us initially, so we had the initial turn on him, and then the Hornet saw us. Well, the Hornet can fly very slow, has a high AOA, and all this, and we're trying to get a missile cone. Next thing I know, the wings are coming up. Then I see the slats are coming down, the flaps are coming down. Wad, we can't go any slower. We're going to fall out of the sky. But the Hornet's just doing his best, infrared missile defense, and we're just not getting the tone at all. You're just hearing it off and on, off and on. But we're just starting to flail, trying to stay behind this guy now, and that's when I finally said, "Hey, we got to push it up, or we're going to fall out of the sky." But he was bound and determined to try to get this Hornet that just went into total idle, is high, whatever their high AOA defense is and everything. And you really can't do that in a VARC, especially in the mountains. That gets a little sporty.
When you say low, how low were you guys?
Oh, we were probably somewhere between 100 and 500 feet when we saw this guy.
Oh my God.
And he had come down, like I said, we'd come over a ridge. We're staying low level. And this guy had just popped up from something, and he was obviously looking probably to the east for some other strikers coming in, didn't see us. So we initially pulled our nose up and started going. That's when he saw us. And then that's when it was, fights on, try to do it. And as he kept turning, we kept trying to turn. And that's why, wings coming forward. I mean, we're in max grunt, but the wings are coming forward. Slats are down, flaps are down, and we're just doing this. And finally, no, we got to get out of here.
My God!
Either one of them killed each other. We got out of it, but didn't get the kill on that one.
Oh, if you've ever seen a Blue Angels show, you see the Hornet go by at 60 knots or whatever. Looks like he's just hanging.
Oh yeah, that high AOA, that Hornet.
Yeah,
that's impressive. High AOA bird.
You broke my paradigm, because in my mind you were somewhere below 5,000 feet. I thought we were calling that low level, but holy shit!
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. We came up out of the low level to get him. He was probably at 2,000 feet cruising around when we pulled up.
Oh boy,
lots of fun.
Wow, that's a good picture too.
That's a good picture.
Sticks is working the magic back there.
Yeah, that's an Aussie bird there.
Let's take a quick break and say a thank you to our sponsor, HSI Wealth Strategies.
So there I was, flying high, thinking my retirement was locked in, running smooth, no adjustments needed. Then it hit me. Retirement planning isn't something you can just put on autopilot. You can't just set it and hope for the best. If you're not actively steering, you could be drifting off course without even realizing it. That's why pilots who get it turn to HSI Wealth Strategies. These guys aren't your typical financial advisors. They're pilots. Military, airline, guard, civil. They've sat where you're sitting. They understand the unique financial landscape pilots face, from high earning years to the minefield of taxes and inflation waiting down range. And here's the kicker. On average, they're saving pilots $1 million or more just by making smart course corrections. The earlier you start working with them, the more opportunities they have to reduce your lifetime tax burden and keep more of your hard-earned money where it belongs. But don't worry, even if you're closer to your Centrum Silver years, they have the expertise to help make the most of your approach to retirement. Now, let me ask you something. If your airplane was leaking fuel mid-flight, would you ignore it and hope you still had enough to make it to your destination? Of course not. You'd act immediately. Your retirement is no different. If you're not taking control now, you could be watching your hard-earned money evaporate through unnecessary taxes and inefficient planning. And listen, we all know the classic joke. How does a pilot make $1 million? Well, he starts with $2 million and manages it himself for 6 months. Funny? Yes, but humor has truth to it, and this one is painfully true. So here's your wake-up call. This is your moment right now. You have a choice. You can keep hoping your retirement lands smoothly, or you can take action and get a real strategy from people who know exactly what it takes to make it work for pilots. Call Robbie Walling at 214-538-7030. That's 214-JET-7030. Or email robert.walling@nm.com. That's robert.walling, WALLING, at novembermike.com. Because when it comes to your financial future, you only get one final approach, and there are no go-arounds. HSI Wealth Strategies, pilots guiding pilots to a smooth landing in retirement. All right. Thank you, Robbie, for helping us keep these shows coming to you. So we were laughing about low level and turn and fight and high alpha and hornet and all that good stuff. But another note you sent to us was Mach 1.3 underneath an A10. And dear God, that had to be...
Oh, yeah.
That had to be even lower, maybe. I don't know. Getting under an A10 is a work of art.
It is. Yeah. So continuing with that the intro portion. So we're doing that target attack. We ask our wingman where he pause it, and he says I'm out of point whatever. Well, we're thinking, how do you get in front of us? So okay, we push it up. Our wingman's left us. We're getting out of here now. So we're screaming, and we're planning our route. So we always try to plan when we're out in Ellis to stay as long as we can in the supersonic airspace, just to give us a fighting chance. So as we're heading out, we're, like I said, 1.3, we're going over wild horses. We're, you're focused on nothing at 100 feet at 1.3, but watching what's in front of you. I got the radar in air-to-air mode, just trying to look for anything, but I know nothing because of where we're flying is going to be coming in from our right. Well, as we get to the eastern ranges, the 60 series, well, there's this A10 showing up. Well, he was late taking off. Well, we got to cross this ridge line. A10's not seeing us, and all of a sudden, here he is. And we knew that if we went right above him, we were probably going to blow him into the ground with our shockwave.
Oh, boy.
So my pilot said, hey, we're going to get skinny. And we went between him and the top of the ridge. So we probably cleared the ridge by about 25 feet, and we probably missed him by probably 75 feet. And, on out, down, whatever. And it's like, we got to find this guy. So we get back in the red flag building, and, you're trying to look at who's what pod number and finding. So we're, walking around there, and finally, hey, where's the A10 guys? Hey, who is, I forget the call sign now. We're a little bit, it took off a little late getting there. Did you notice anything? Did you see anything as you were just coming over the ridge line? That goes, no, but I felt a total bunch of turbulence right on top of that ridge. Well, buddy, let me tell you what this is. What the turbulence was us going between you and that ridge, and he knew how the altitude he's at. His eyes got about that big around. It was like, said, you never saw us, did you? It's like, we had no choice. We'd gone above you. You probably wouldn't be here right now because of what that thing was doing. But that was an eye-opening squeeze between the him and the ridge line.
That might be a show title repeat.
An eye-opening squeeze.
Or no, we're gonna get skinny.
Yeah, there you go. We're gonna get skinny.
We're gonna get skinny, and we knew we weren't going to hit the ridge. We knew we had enough clearance there. We're just making sure he wasn't coming down any lower, and just and it that fast, and you're going that fast, you're right past him. But
yeah, that's a split
felt
second
us.
decision.
Yep. Yes, that definitely gets your attention. Makes you go back and find the guy. Hey, did you see this? Nope. Clueless. Okay. Yeah,
Wow.
that was a fun one.
The other show title I thought of was The French Did a Golf Clap, but But
Yeah,
I
that's a
that.
good
We're
one.
going to get skinny. That because that describes it right there. I mean, holy shit. Did you duck?
Yeah, right.
Under him?
Well, and because that the best defense against those guys was supersonic against that desert floor. You got a hot desert floor down there with you, and it does make a difference. If you want, I got another one that is along that same time
Yes.
frame.
Yeah.
Where
Let's hear it, man.
so we're egressing out, same southern route, same speed, same altitude. There's one lone red air Viper up at about 30,000 feet. And he sees us, I can hear him on, his radar, painting us, but he's out of radar missiles. So, we get back to debrief and, he says, stop, pair our, data link pod and his data link pods they put on the big screen. And he said, I did the textbook 3-1 conversion and watch this. And you see him you see him roll, you see him pull, he cashes everything in, squares a corner at the bottom, and you see his HUD go, minus 50, minus 100, minus 200 break X. Oh. And because he cached all of his speed coming downhill, all he had was a heater to turn the corner, and we just walked away from him. So that's where speed is life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he confirmed
he wasn't getting the lock on us he couldn't get a tone with the AIM 9. And so everyone looked at it because then he even said, he goes, okay, here's his real time. Then he had him go his cockpit view. So you could actually see what his simulated cockpit view and just, extending from him. Everyone's like, yep. Speed's nice.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Speed is life. And that is it.
Definitely.
Oh, man. That is fascinating. All right. So let's see. There are a couple other notes here I know I wanted to hit. I'm still just I'm kind of almost shaking it getting under that 810. That is amazing.
Right. I know, right? You clear of the runway.
Clear of the runway.
Yeah. So this is you're in Saudi Arabia doing Southern Watch.
Okay.
And this is Strike Eagle, and we're doing our run up. We're coming home, and you can kind of see this giant sandstorm starting to come in. I mean, like Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yep.
You see that he's in that building, and the sandstorm's coming in. I mean, no kidding. 200-foot wall of dirt, mud, and water. You could just see it coming across the desert. And we're trying to get it back as fast as we can. And we get there, talking to control, and then tell our wingman. I think we were just as a section that day, 2-ship, get him landed first. So he gets down and rolling runway. We come in, and about the time our wheels hit the runway, you can't see anything but mud in front of you. And so we know we're staying straight. Nose goes down, but now I have no idea where 2's at. So 2, are you clear of the runway? Well, I think so. We turned off. I haven't, so we're trying to come on the brakes, slow down. And so what are we trying to do here? And you're trying to call a tower, and Tao's like, well, no one else is behind you. Recommend you stay in place. We can't see you right now. And we're like, that's a flare of the obvious, you think? Can't see anything right now. This 200-foot wall of mud, sand, and water is coming across everything. There you go. That's kind of what it looked like.
Picture of it.
Oh, my gosh. Yep.
Right, like I said, right as we landed, I was inside that cloud. No idea where 2 was. No idea. Hopefully, we're staying on the runway. Then you start thinking, man, how much is this going to trash the jet? It's kind of like being sandblasted.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we going to paint? Is it going to pit the canopy? I mean, we had no way to get under shelter.
It's sucking all that stuff through the motor too.
Oh yeah.
What do you estimate your visibility was? I mean, you could the lines on the runway. Could you see 25, 50 feet, anything like that?
I could see the nose of my aircraft and maybe about 2 feet in front of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we stopped. I mean, we ended up stopping. We just stopped and remained in place because literally you couldn't see to taxi. The tower didn't want us to,
Right.
they just said stay in place.
Right.
It's fairly
not
fast
like anyone
moving.
else is going to come in and find that runway and land. So.
No, they'd set everyone else around. We were the last guys in.
Yeah. What kind of landing system did you have on there? Did you have ILS or?
Oh yeah, you had the
Okay.
ILS. You could get a PAR,
Okay.
TACAN. All the standard. We did not have a GPS coupled approach like you see at some of the the airliners like you guys have today. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think the PAR was 200.5. I remember the Harrier all-weather landing system was certified to 1,003. So yeah, I mean, we laughed.
It was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
All weather as long as it was VMC.
And then you finally get back, and then when you what happened was you get back to the tent city you're staying in there in Saudi, and there are several tents that don't have tents anymore.
Right.
Yeah. It was impressive, and I never had thought I'd see flooding in the desert, but there was like a drainage as you're walking back from Ops Town to where the tent city was that you couldn't get it, but got about 3.5 feet deep, and it was probably about 10 feet wide, and it was moving. I mean, just like,
I'll
wow.
take you away. Yeah, I'll take you away. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was quite the sandstorm. And so every time I watch Mission Impossible, it's like, yep, I know what that's like. And he's trying to run through the streets and, with his goggles on and not seeing, and then that car hits him. Well, yeah, because you couldn't see it coming.
Right. Oh man. All right. Well, darn it. So that was during Iraqi
Southern Watch.
Southern Watch.
Southern Watch.
90,
Okay.
I think 97, somewhere in that time frame, late 90s.
All right. So when did you wind up transitioning over to the F-15?
In 95.
Okay.
The 111s were starting to close out. And we put our last 11 weapon school class through. And then I headed out to start teach academic stuff out at Nellis while I was waiting to get to.
It's frozen.
Yeah.
He's got a clock ticking in the background because every time he freezes, the clock ticking stops.
There you go. Thing is, StreamYard's picking it up. It's putting it on.
There we go. I'm back.
We're back.
Hey,
right.
welcome back.
All right. So I'm going to mark that for.
I haven't seen you guys yet, but
Yeah. Okay.
We can hear you. That's the most
there we are.
Yeah.
95, when the 111 web school shut down, then I went out to Nellis teaching there, and then went to FTU in 96.
Okay.
And then was out there, doing that. And then from there up to Mountain Home, which is where I was.
Did you enjoy flying more? And did you get about equal time in the 15 or was it more in the 111?
I had more in the 111 15. 15, I think it was just short of 1,000 hours ish.
Okay.
Plus or minus. That's a hard question, and you're not the first that's asked me that.
Yeah. Which kid is your favorite? I get
it. It depends on what I was wanting to do. To fly low level, I'll take a VARC any day.
Okay.
To be able in today's environment, go out and do things, having that big radar, being able to defend myself, the new technology. And, I left before you had the data link, the what do you call it? The new helmet with the
the
NVGs.
Right.
So the technology is just so much different in the strike and having that. But that low level speed, that the VARC. So that's why it's a hard question. Is there, depending on what I have to do and what I'm doing, there are different things I like about both.
Sure.
And now with the new, I wish I could be around to fly that new 15 that they're coming out to replace some of the C's with. That thing's going to be something special. Bigger motors, more capability. That's really going to be a dream machine to fly.
Yeah, the magic they're coming up with. These later generation fighters are just shit we never even thought about. And these kids are coming out of college designing that. Going, oh, what if we do this?
Right.
What if we do
Yeah.
that? Oh, my God.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was all science fiction 30 years ago. Now it's just is.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, it's kind of neat. I mean, I'm glad I got to be, one of the old guys and, had my time in the F-111 or guys that had the F4 or, the A4, the A6, that, the steam gauges and that to then transition to the digital world of GPS, multifunction displays. And now with the integrated, those high-speed helmets that the F-35 guys have and that kind of stuff, I can only imagine what that's got to be like to have some of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's and what he's talking about. It's amazing to you look. You want to see what's beneath you. You look down.
Right.
Look through the floor of the jet, through your legs,
right.
And all the cameras.
There's your size comparison picture.
Yeah. The Phantom at the bottom and the aardvark's longer.
Yep.
And
damn. It's even longer than the Eagle. I mean, it just
Is that a Mirage that's sitting to the right of the Eagle?
I think that's a Mirage. Yeah. That's what it looks like. Yep.
I'll tell you what, that is a big airplane.
It is
a camouflage paint job. If it was gray like the other ones, I think it would even look bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat, and a lot of technology from that. Initially, they tried to put into the B1. Like the initial B1 was going to have a capsule ejection system, and then they scrapped that, went to ejection seats. And the initial B1 cockpit layout was almost the same as 111 in terms of we had vertical tapes that went for altimeter instead of a spinning round dial and a big ADI. They since changed B1 and modified it quite a bit, but very similar in terms of, believe it or not, with that plane. I got a couple B1 sorties. The takeoff and landing speeds are almost the exact same as flying a VARC.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah. For something that big. That
big airplane. Yeah.
Big airplane. Yep. So those are kind of cool things. And you see that technology develop.
There's a note. I see you took a note off. Are you saving that one for the extra repeat?
No, I did it by accident. So it was about going to Basra and back, right? Record time.
Yeah. So you start getting bored in Southern Watch, and so we, getting towards the end there, and so we started figuring who can get the shortest ASD to take off from, PSAB, hit your simulated target in Basra, and come back. So then we started looking at this, going, how it's limiting us, and so a couple of weapon guys get together and, hey, instead of carrying this load every day, what can we carry go faster? So we start getting the boss, hey, can we carry some GBU 10s instead of GBU 12s? Because now we can carry them. I think it was like up to Mach 1.4. So then we start, okay, who can get up there and get the fastest? And so we're trying to, you see, okay, well, I made it 1.5. The next day I made it 1.4. We did it in 1.3. We're 1.3 hours. And finally the boss kind of gets, hey guys, we need at least this ASD to fly, sortie duration. And so he kind of got wise to it. But so we started having who's going to be the record guy to get up there and back based on what you're carrying. And we'd even do things like coming in approach. To get faster approach, you try to ask for, we'd like to do tactical initial. So that's where the 4-ship, you get down and, the last 10, 15 miles, you're coming in at 500 feet, 500 plus ish knots, basically just trying to stay subsonic and hopefully don't make any turns. It pops a little sound wave, although that happened once, and then pop up and do your initial pitch out and land. And I think somebody got a 0.9 one day.
That's impressive.
And they just burned about every bit of fuel they had. But things you're doing when you're bored doing Southern Watch and nothing's happening, it's like, what can we do here? Okay, how fast can we go? Change the weapons loadout, make it happen.
Leave some deaf camels out there too, I'm guessing. But
flew a couple of them. Yep, those are neat.
There may have been a few livestock harmed in the making of this podcast.
It's what we do.
But we don't have confirmation on that, so we can only assume that they're fine.
Right. Yeah. Same with the horses. Yeah. I assume they're fine.
And with the horses, 1.5 Mach over at 100 feet over wild horses. I'm sure they were fine.
Right. Yeah, I like
hear
that
that
though.
all
The
the
gun with the cow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was that.
Then there's that.
So-
Yep.
Oh boy. All
We've
right.
been going at this hour 25. What do you think, boys?
I think we probably need to land this airplane and work
Okay.
our way over to our extra for our Patreon.
Well,
folks.
it for my thing, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad that Wally, Brian or
Robbie.
Walling introduced me to you guys. This has been a lot of fun for me and rehashing a lot of old memories.
Well, thank you.
It's
And-
always good hearing stories, man.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for your service. Can't
Thank you
enough
guys.
for stepping
Yep.
up and doing it. So, love getting these stories on. Fantastic, and what a neat airplane. I don't think we've had an aardvark.
That's a
crew
first.
on. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's
very
first.
cool. Yeah, thank you for that. Fascinating airplane to learn about. So, yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for your service, and thank you to all the families who sacrificed so that you could do your service, and all the veterans and active duty out there. They're missing anniversaries and birthdays and funerals and weddings, and it's hard to be a family member. So, thank you to them as well.
Definitely.
Got a couple other thank yous we need to get out there, Fig. Do you remember any of them? I do.
Well, it's right in my face, so how could I not? We need to thank Badass at BDS Aviation for sharing his wonderful pictures that are up right now on our website or on our YouTube right now. Awesome pictures of F-15E from Seymour Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know where he was when he got this picture. It looks like he was airborne, but I don't.
It
I
does.
don't
It
think
looks like
he was.
in trails. Look like he's getting ready to gun the bastard.
Yeah, I know. Fantastic. So thank you to Brad for sharing and being a big supporter of So There I Was.
Absolutely. Thank you to Backbeat Media, backbeatmedia.com online for handling our advertising. We're grateful to them. And, of course, Sadie and Dave Hamilton over there who helped us get this show up and running and keep us going, both on social media and advertising, all that good stuff. So thank you to Backbeat Media, Dave Hamilton, and Sadie. Appreciate that. Got a couple other thank yous we need to get out of the way. Look at the me Fig. What am I wearing? Get yourself one of these.
Is that a hoodie? You
It
wearing a
is
hoodie?
Hoodie, yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, we got merch. So there I was, .us/merch. And hey, it's springtime's coming up. It's going to be real nice here real quick. So we have an awesome So There I Was bikini that would look good on your significant other, or maybe you. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. With the little QR code right on the bikini bottom so people can come point their cameras right at you. Find
But
out
yeah.
where to get us.
You know, Steins, beer glasses, shot glasses, hoodies, polo shirts, you know, if we have blankets.
Clocks, blankets, beach towels.
Yeah, if we don't have it,
koozies,
it's
all
probably
that
not
good
made.
Stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to integrate it because we've got some. Right now, we've given away keychains, and we're giving away the flask giveaway is over in about another day and a half. So there I was .us/giveaway. Go there, follow some of the links to give us ratings, share the show on social media, get a couple points, and see if you can't earn yourself your own customized flask. And I'm going to try and get it so you can actually buy that stuff as well. But for right now, the only way to get a show flask is to go online. So there was .us/giveaway and enter to win. We're going to give away 5 of those tomorrow. And I don't know what the next giveaway is going to be, but we're going to keep doing this giveaway to help spread the word on the show. Which
We could give away a picture of me in the bikini.
we could do that, but because
I've been really
want our
working
show
out.
numbers to go up, Fig, up, not down.
Hey, real quick, Sticks in the background. He just put up a reminder. Mark your calendars for April 13th. We are going to have our first rescue swimmer on.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy.
Showtime,
Live
1900
stream.
hours Eastern Daylight Time.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for that, Sticks.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, let's see, 1 or 2 more others. We got to thank Sticks and Bago. they're the ones helping make all this continue to work while we're doing the show. They do the stuff in the background. We're grateful to them for that. And then
making the magic happen back there.
Right. And then there's a couple others.
Ooh, that is the 2 F-16 pilots that make the Air Force sound good. That's the Dos Gringos.
Those gringos.
They got 4 albums, and there's not one bad song. And if you're having a bad day or just want to laugh, put their music on because it's amazing.
It's a howl. It's good stuff. So I think that's it for our thank yous. Go give us a 5-star rating. Share the show. Go to thesairwas.us/giveaway. Get yourself a show flask. And I guess until next week, do you have any advice for folks, Fig?
No.
No.
Stay safe and check 6.
Check 6.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
Hold on. What did he say?
He said it was over.
Okay.
Picked the wrong week. Quit sniffing glue.
Bugging out and going home.
And we're out. Boom.
Bye.
We'll end it there. All right, guys. I'm going to end the stream, the live stream. We're going to go to the extra story and say goodbye to everybody, and we'll put out word when we're going to record again. So thank you for joining us, everybody out in YouTube land and on X and Facebook. Take care.
See ya.
And it won't end.